Welcome to Screen Weens, episode 131.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
We're almost at 132.
I mean, only 25 more episodes until 3-year mark.
Oh, man. That's nutty.
That's Nutty Professor. That's what we're watching for it. The remake and the original.
Oh, man. You're going to subject me to the Jerry Lewis Nutty Professor? I don't like Jerry Lewis.
He seems a bit annoying.
Yeah. I kind of get it, but it's it's a product of its time that has not translated well for me. It's just like that.
I feel like, when was that? When did that come out?
Like the 50s.
50s?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like, I can get behind, a lot of silent humor, a lot of slapstick humor, but, around the time of, Nutty Professor, I'm just like, when did they become the least 63? I'm like, wait, why are they all so not funny now?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. What's that movie that he did that was
you know what? I think I'm changing my mind. I think I'm going to change my actor deep dive to instead be a director deep dive of Jerry Lewis.
No, we got to wait a couple more years until the day the clown cries comes out of the vault. Because I'm sure you know about that, right?
Yeah. Who did that movie?
I think it was Jerry Lewis.
I don't know if he did.
I think he did because he has the full rights to it. For those of you who do not know what The Day the Clown Cried is, it's a movie that he made that follows a clown during the Holocaust in a concentration camp, and it's in super poor taste. And the movie ends with a scene where he's they're being led to the gas chambers, and he's like, oh, I'm going to try to, cheer these kids up and lead them in, because, they're going in regardless, so I might as well make sure they're having a good time. And it's just, it's super weird. He basically, made it and was nobody can ever see this, so he, locked it away. People knew about it, and there's, some sort of a contract or something to where it's going to be released a certain amount of years after his death, which is coming up.
Well, it was donated to an incomplete version of it. I don't think there's technically a complete version of it that's out. But an incomplete version of it was given to, I think, Library of Congress in 2015. But the stipulation in it is that it couldn't be screened before June of 2024, which is 2 years away.
Yeah.
So, 5th year anniversary of Screen Weens. We'll be watching
The Day the Clown Cried. That'll be
something.
Episode.
Yeah, so welcome to episode 131. I'm London, by the way.
I'm Thomas.
And you're listening to Screen Weens. Or watching. Whatever,
Yeah, however you get by.
Inflates your rectum. As always, we're going to be covering a couple movies. Today's movie choices were Losing Ground by Kathleen Collins and The Watermelon Woman by, I think it was Claire Dunier?
Yes.
I remember it was Dunier. I think it was Claire. That sounds right.
I believe so, yes.
Cheryl Dunier.
That's right.
Fuck me. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Please don't beat me up. But before that, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to talk about random shit. We're going to talk about our week. We're going to talk about what else we did. Mm-hmm. We're going to ponder life.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas, what else did you do this week?
Well, I worked. I've recently made the switch. I've been working a 9-day work week. Today was day number 8.
Almost there.
I'm almost there. Tomorrow's my Friday. Thank God. And what's it called? So, yeah, I worked 1 week where I was doing my normal closing stuff, and then I worked another this week where I've been opening, so I've been waking up at 6:30 in the morning and going to work at 9 and getting off around 4. So that's been interesting. Let's see. One night I watched the Metalocalypse musical that they did, Doomstar Requiem, a clock opera, because I love that. It's like 45-minute opera, and I'm a huge Metalocalypse fan, so big fan. And then I had a friend over, and they wanted to watch Little Shop of Horrors, so I showed them the director cut for the first time.
And they were like, "This is so sad."
Yeah, they were basically like the whole time they were like, "Oh man, I don't, like, I'm not ready for it." And then like they got to the point, spoiler alert in case you've never seen any version of Little Shop of Horrors, the scene where Audrey dies and she's basically like, "I want to be in the plant." And they were like, "This is dumb." I'm like, hold on. This isn't why the ending is great. It's not great because they die. It's great because of what comes after. And then the like Godzilla Audrey 2 apocalypse scene happened, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, I did not see that coming." And I was like, yeah, it was pretty good. I love it. Aside from that and the picks we watched this week, I didn't watch anything else though.
Did you watch Scream?
I did watch Scream. That was not this week though. That would have been like last week, and I think I just
bring it up.
I forgot to talk about it. I thought it was okay.
No, that's fair. I really liked it, but I get it.
Yeah, I think
I just vibe with the Scream movies more than you.
Probably.
Which is also fun.
I just have the issue that it's like, it's meta, but they never like use that meta knowledge to the character's advantages. Mm. They'll like try, they'll be like for instance, Dewey kind of like drops some meta foreshadowing in this one, and then but they don't do anything with it because none of the characters take any fucking. They're like, whatever. This isn't a movie, I guess. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my god, that. And I thought both the killers were very obvious the entire time.
That's fair.
And I honestly didn't think I got much out of the original cast being in it.
Oh, see, I'm with you on the killer aspect. I really liked the original cast in this one. I really liked the continued threads for them.
I felt like they didn't do anything. I didn't watch the other 4 leading up to it, but like...
Yeah, maybe because I just like, on a Scream track, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, but like, they literally just felt like a half step above like cameos. Mm-hmm. And I could get deeper into it, but I don't want to spoil the movie, so I'm just gonna let the sleeping dog lie. But yeah, I thought it was okay. I didn't dislike it. I didn't like love it.
Okay, that's fair.
I think it was probably one of the better Scream sequels, though.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite outside of... No, I think it is my favorite Scream sequel. And then I still really like 4 as well.
Yeah, 4, I watched it once when it first came out, and I don't. Aside from Emma Roberts being in it, and the cop that Dewey gets with, who... Yeah. That's like the only 2 things I remember from it. I remember 1 through 3 fairly well. I haven't watched them in a really long time. I think if I had to pick one of the sequels as my favorite, I remember it being 3, but I don't know if I would stick with that. Jay and Silent Bob are in it, so it's like...
For like 5 seconds.
I know, but that really stood out to me as a kid.
You're like, that's me!
That and the mirror scene. But there's like a scene where they're like... It's in like somebody's house. They have like one of those like police investigation mirrors, but it's like a bedroom mirror. Like one of those like thin standing ones, but it's like they can see through it, and they're like they're like, help! And like the people on the other side can't see it, and then like Ghostface comes and murders them. That's like the only thing I remember. That and like Dewey gets like stabbed or something partway through the movie and like sits most of it out of commission.
Classic Dewey.
Classic Dewey.
Man, I love David Arquette in those movies, so.
Yeah, no, I really like David Arquette, so it's like...
I think I watched 1 movie this week that wasn't these 2. Mm-hmm. And it was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
The Purple Ooze?
Yep.
I've actually seen that.
Yeah. That movie really annoys me because, like, when it's just, like, goofy, like, teenagers talking to each other, I'm like, this is it. This is the pinnacle of cinema right here. Mm-hmm. I fucking love these scenes. But it was going to be in the theaters. So they're like, we got to use this newfangled CG. So every single fight scene with a Zord is CG. And it looks just fucking atrocious. But even if it didn't look atrocious, it just wouldn't be very much fun. I'd be like, yeah. I think the guy who plays Ivan Ooze is fucking great. I think he's a great character. And I like the characters in it. But it's just like, I like that movie, but it's all over the fucking place.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't watched it in since I was 4.
You probably would not like it.
I would probably
because I know you're not. I know we've talked about it. And you're like, I feel like I should like Power Rangers but you don't, and that's fine.
Yeah, maybe if I just sit down and actually watch a season of one of them.
Great news for next episode. No,
but yeah. Until that day comes, I'm just gonna catch bits and pieces of an episode here and there, and I'll be like, oh yeah, didn't feel it.
Yeah, but then I was just busy. Hinatea's sister was in town, so I've just been busy. I went snow tubing.
Oh yeah,
that was fun. I forgot my gloves though, so I was just like, my hands are fucking freezing.
I feel it.
But it was a good time. But we were in Snoqualmie, and then we were driving back on the pass, and it started snowing really heavily, and we're like, we're gonna die.
Yeah.
That wasn't very fun. We went to an estate sale about the Aragon board game. There was a board game based on the movie. Really bad. But I got it for $2.50, so I think that was worth it.
Do you think that Paolini, is that his name? Guy who wrote the books. Do you think he got the merchandising rights to that? Do you think he made money off that?
Probably. Well, he probably got. I don't know.
'Cause he was what? 17 when he wrote the first book?
I think he was 17 when he started writing it and 19 when it was published or something.
Can you imagine writing a book?
It feels like it's written by a child. I'm sorry. Which is fine, I think that's why I liked it as a kid, because it was just so I could have written this.
Yeah, I plan on reading The Inheritance Cycle at some point.
And I do want to read his newer his newer book, the sci-fi one. I've heard that one's actually really good. But yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about movies.
Yes.
Starting with 1982's Losing Ground.
Okay, I'm going to say something that I never thought I would say. And I can't...
Bill Gunn's a dick. No, I'm just kidding.
No. I can't concretely say it because it would be blasphemous to me. But this might be my new favorite Dwayne Jones role.
This movie's sick as hell.
Yeah, he just shows up and he's wearing a fucking cape and a top
He looks
hat,
like a magician.
And it's just what?
Yeah.
I loved it.
And I feel like it's also better for me to be yeah, this is my favorite Dwayne Jones role, because he was always I don't want to be known as the guy who just played Ben. So yeah, that's the guy who played Duke from Losing Ground.
Yeah. Fucking, I feel bad because I grew up watching fucking Night of the Living Dead a million times. So it's in my heart of hearts, that's probably always going to be my favorite Dwayne Jones movie. But as a performer and actually a role that he plays, I think that this might be it, because it was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually
and I like everybody in this movie.
Yeah, that main actress is really good. Bill Gunn's really good in this.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a lot to work with in his own movie. When you talk about Anja and Hess, because he's not in it very often. Mm-hmm. But he's in it for 2 scenes and then he dies. But this movie, he really has a lot going on, and he plays a pretty. Everyone in this is really multifaceted as a character. Mm-hmm. And you get to see them I really like this movie's the way it introduces its characters, because they're all super different as people, and the only scene we really see them all interact is that one dance party later on.
Yeah,
and I think I think this movie's brilliant. I really like this movie.
Yeah, no, it was fucking great.
it kind of reminds me of something like in the same vein as like Marriage Story or like Scenes from Marriage in a sense. But it's more about a woman like trying to figure out who she is and like living in the shadows of her partner. As a quick synopsis of the film, this woman, what is her name? Is it Vicky or is that the other one? No.
I think that's the other one.
Losing ground.
Sarah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Celia is the other person, by the way.
Celia, yeah, that's right.
I think Vicky might be.
Vicky is the other person she's in the movie with, I think. The other woman they're making that movie with.
Yes. Bill Gunn's character's name is Victor.
Victor, that's right. Victor, Duke, Celia. Yeah. So Sarah she teaches like logic and philosophy at a local university. And her students like her. She likes them. She enjoys her job, but she's like a pretty analytical person. But she goes home every day to see her husband, Victor, who was played by Bill Gunn, who is this like aspiring painter. And he can see things that she can't, and he lives in the now, and he gets the ecstasy that's only available from like making art, and like that's what he says pretty much, and that's what people imply in the movie. And she's writing this like thesis, this dissertation on like this ineffable object of like ecstasy in the brain, like how we can achieve that. And she wants to do this over the summer, but he's like, no, I want to go to this like small like village area for the summer so I can paint or something like that. And she's like, I can't get my research done there. And he's like, you can just drive down the city. And she gets really upset at that. She's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just drive over there to paint people?
Right. Right. So you just did that this afternoon, dude.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
So it's pretty obvious that he doesn't really see her job as like equal to his, because he has like this passion and he creates art, and to him she's not a painter, she's not an artist.
No, he views her as very cold and like calculated, and there's lots of scenes that like allude to that. And I think because like she teaches her class, and all of her students always like come up and tell her like, oh my god, you're so like lively. And I don't even know if she necessarily like sees that in herself. I don't think she thinks of herself that way. So when her students keep telling her this, she's like, what? And then she comes home and her husband's like, yeah, you're a cold bitch. Yeah.
Because and there's an interesting metamorphosis of his character because as she starts developing her own emotions and her own like will to do these like more artistic like endeavors, he becomes bitter. He loses his focus on his work, and it seems like he was only able to do his best work by pretty much stepping on her. But also near the end, it finally seems like he sees her liveliness, because he sees her doing work. He comes at the very end to watch her and sees her like perform in the student film she wants to do. But I think in that moment, he sees what her students see. Like, he sees that liveliness, just he was never there to really like focus on it. So when somebody shows up that does focus on that, Duke, who is like a fellow like kind of philosopher, he used to be in the church, he used to do all these things, played by Dwayne Jones, just beautifully.
It's like an unemployed actor now whose nephew is but
he's like a magician or something.
Yeah, he just
dresses like a magician,
wears a cape. It's like, yeah, I'm an out of work actor. And it's just like, okay, dude, cool. It's like, yeah, my nephew's making a student film, and he's kind of reluctantly there, but...
And then he's like, why the fuck are you doing this? Because she joins. She's like, I wanted to. It's more like, I don't really like my husband right now. I don't want to be around him.
Yeah. But that and what's happening in the film is eerily similar to what's happening to her in real life, which also leads to, like, the final scene where she, like, obviously kills the stand-in for her husband right in front of her husband. And it's just like kind of probably symbolic for their marriage being completely just absolutely fucked now.
Yeah. Either that or like it's either that or he's like finally coming to the realization that he's like, I need to step up. I need to like stop fucking around. Mm-hmm. Because he's just constantly like doing what he wants in the relationship, and he wants to paint all these like beautiful young women in this to the point that he just starts hanging out with one of them.
Yeah, he invites one of them into their like new house that they just are like temping at. Because it's like one of those situations where they're watching somebody's house while they're away, and it's like this big, beautiful, scenic house, and he invites this Puerto Rican girl over, and she stays, and then, you know, he keeps trying to, like, fucking make moves on her, and she's not really giving it, but, like, she's just kind of there to have fun. Like, she has a moment later on where she's talking about just, like, kind of, like, living in the moment, because he's like, why do you say man? And she talks about like how it's basically like a percussion, like a beat to her voice or the words, you know, and just kind of goes with the flow. I don't even know what's going on, man. Like,
and I think it's really interesting because like I don't actually think like what they do in the movie is like that reprehensible. Like, mostly those two are just hanging out with other people, which I think is fine. I also think it's fine to like have attraction to other people, but they don't communicate with each other. That's the main issue. Yeah. They've gotten to the point where they're like stagnated in their relationship. They're finding solace in other people, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. Like, you've been in a relationship with one person for a long time, you need a relationship with other people. I'm like, that's fucking fine. Talk to your partner about this, though. Maybe don't just fucking abandon them.
Yeah.
Drag them to a place they don't want to be, and then go flirt with other women. And maybe that's not ideal. Yeah.
And especially don't just whip your dick out at the pool party where everybody's attending. Because that's probably like the big risque moment. Because he like tries to get on top of her and he like whips his dick out, and then his wife shows up and she's like, okay, like I've been like kind of silently avoiding it up until this point, but what the fuck? And then she just calls him out on his bullshit in front of everybody and leaves. And it's like, yeah.
And then she performs the final scene with Dwayne Jones, and then she shoots him. In the movie, she doesn't actually kill him. And then the movie ends. Mm-hmm. Both in the movie and in the movie.
Yes. Both.
The movie and in the movie.
The movie in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was not expecting this movie to be so, like, thematically dense and, like, really, like, just really, like, drilling into my, like, psyche. Just thinking about, like, people as people and, like, I don't know. This movie's... I really like this movie.
Yeah, I also really like this one. I thought it was very good.
They talk about... Celia talks about, like, the rhythm, like, her using that man. It's like, yeah, it's part of my rhythm. It's part of the beat that ends my sentences. And in the same vein, they have this repeating song that happens where it's, like, in a pretty jovial way in the beginning, but they use that as an interesting rhythm every once in a while. Because they'll use that same song, but, like... It'll just get, like, in progressively worse situations, like, to the point where the final one is that dance scene, where Bill Gunn's just making a fool of himself and being, like, a dick to his wife.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really interesting as well. So.
Yeah. Fucking... Yeah, this one was really great. I wish it was more accessible in the fact that, like, you could find it.
Yeah, it's on Criterion. Well, so... This is the first movie made by a black woman that was released, like a narrative, like a full feature-length narrative film made by a black woman in like 60 years. There wasn't like one since like the 20s or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this was huge, but it didn't get released to theaters. It didn't get a wide release. And it didn't really see the light of day. Like, people saw it here and there, but I think it was in like 2015 where Kathleen Collins' daughter, Nina Collins, she was the one in charge of restoring the film. And they restored it, and it got a release, and that's when it got like just pushed into like the limelight. And people talk about this movie more now.
Good. It's amazing.
Yeah. And now it's on the Criterion channel, which is what I have. And if people don't have that, if you're going to get one streaming service, I think the Criterion channel is fucking exceptional. I think it has a really good selection of movies, but it also has some really, really good interviews that they have archived. And it just has a lot of, like, really interesting bonus material. I watched, like, a 30-minute, interview about Sidney Poitier the other day. That was on there. I was just, like, scrolling through because I was waiting for people to get off. And I'm like, I don't really have time for a movie, but I want to watch something. So I was looking through the short films, and I'm like, oh, look at this. They have, like, archives now of, like, interviews. And, yeah, it was just talking about Sidney Poitier. And it was great. And I feel like, Criterion's, I don't think all the movies on there are, like, as easy to watch as something on, like, Netflix, because most of them are, like, not necessarily art house films, but more, like, in-depth movies that you want to, like, pay attention to, or that you might need to be in the right mood for, or they're, like, French or Japanese, like, they're, you're not always in the mood to have to read subtitles. Sometimes you just want to sit back and relax, and I understand that. But, like, just looking at the movies on there, Criterion Channel has almost exclusively, like, fucking bangers. Oh, yeah. I'm sure there are movies on there that I don't like. But absolutely. Like, 90% of them, probably bangers.
I'd probably lean more towards, like, if I had to guess,
probably
80,
75, 80. Yeah. I'm being a little too optimistic, but...
Because, I mean, like, remember, like, fucking, like, Bicycle Thieves or fucking, like, 120 Days of Solo or something like that.
Yeah, but even then, I understand why those movies are on there, and I'm glad they're there.
Solo, the 120 Days of Sodom.
Sodom's 120 Days of Solo, yeah.
Is that the proper name?
No, you've got it right that time. I was just making shit up.
I was like, what? Salami, the 100 Days of...
Yeah, at the very least, if you're trying to look for this movie, it's pretty much exclusively on Criterion Channel right now. Just get a free trial, see if you like it.
Yeah, that's what I did too.
I also think that, like, I think most streaming services have fucking awful UI. Yes. And I think in general, Criterion's is pretty good. It's pretty, like, sleek and nice to use. Sometimes it has, like, playback issues for me, but that's about it.
I hate that they don't have, like... This is probably mostly a PlayStation thing, but I wish they had an app on there, because I don't have good Wi-Fi in my room, so my TV can't pick up on that stuff. So I have to always hook it up to my laptop. She's always like, sometimes I want to watch a movie and have my laptop right here in case I want to, like, do a little fucking, space out for a minute.
Oh.
Which happens.
I don't know if you saw my hand that was doing this motion.
Oh, well,
Yeah. Anyway, I think Losing Ground is a tremendous film. I thought it was fantastic. I watched like 10 minutes of it last night, but it was like late, and I'm like, I gotta go to bed. So I wish I had watched it in one sitting. Just because, but I loved it.
Yeah, I definitely think it starts off a little slow, but once it starts to, like, get its stride, it really just is a fucking great movie. But yeah. You would give this a 10.
I think I'm sitting at a 9 right now. Okay. But I feel like this might be one that I revisit and be like, this movie's fucking brilliant! I think you're also sitting at a 9, maybe. Maybe an 8?
An 8. Okay. I'm an 8 with the same caveat that you had for it being a 10.
Let's move on to 1996's The Watermelon Woman by Cheryl Dunye.
One that was not, like, properly released or something, because they have that thing at the beginning that was, like, talking about how, like, this is basically like a restoration of the 1996 film, yada yada. I didn't read it super intently, but so I am to infer that this was probably an independent movie that I think it played at like a festival or something, and I just like didn't go anywhere. But yes, this one I was real like kind of wincing going into this one because it's like The Watermelon Woman, and like the poster is like, that sort of archetype, that racist archetype, and I was like, oh no, am I getting into like a Bamboozled type film here? But thankfully it didn't go like that far.
Yeah, in general, I think this movie's like a pretty lighthearted look into like black filmmaking and like the black queer experience, especially in like Philadelphia and surrounding places. Yeah, I also was thinking it was going to be like a lot more dramatic, and there are moments, but in general, I feel like it's more just like stated pretty matter of factly, and then just like moved on from it. It's like, yeah, this is just kind of the situation we live in. Can't really do it with anything about it. We're not going to like glorify it or like just stay on it for a long time. We're just going to tell you it and move on.
Yeah. But it's basically about a black lesbian named Cheryl, who is also an aspiring filmmaker. And she has found these old films from, I forget what, I think it's like the 30s that they said they were from. Maybe the 40s. But she finds basically like this beautiful black woman in a movie who is credited only as the Watermelon Woman. And this basically just kind of like opens up a can of worms in her mind. She's just like, I need to know like everything I can. And the year is 1996, so she can't just like necessarily... I mean, maybe she could get access to a computer at this point. I'm not sure. I was -1 when this movie was made, so I don't know what the information catalog was like, especially accessibility to the internet back then. But she's basically just like, all right, I gotta try to find everything I can, like every movie I can with her, and kind of unravels the past of like finding out that she more than likely had a romantic relationship with this white director that she worked with, who is also a woman. Basically, she spends a lot of time on that aspect. And the movie calls her out on it, because she's basically like, why are you trying to like make this all about like her relationship with this white woman when that's like only just like a fragment of her life? But she discovers more about the actress as she goes along and finds out that her name was Mina? I don't remember.
Faye Richardson.
Man, I don't know.
Mina?
Dude, I'm terrible with names. You guys should know this at this point. Where did I get Mina? I'm not even gonna try to guess, but...
I don't know.
Faye Richards. Richards or Richardson?
I think her full name is Faye Richardson, but they say that in the movie she went by Faye Richards.
Okay. And in case anyone's curious, no, this was not a real person. It was all fictitious for the movie, but it's treated very grounded and like.
Well, and I think, by the way, I'm gonna say this now. That thing at the beginning of the movie, I'm pretty sure is also fictitious. The thing about it being, because this played at like a couple international film festivals, and then was like released on VHS. Like It
got me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I looked it up too, just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that part is also fictitious.
Okay.
To like match with the vibe of the movie.
Then scratch out that part I said at the beginning. But yeah, meanwhile, current day, while, you know, some of the other stuff that's going on besides her just trying to make this documentary on Faye Richards is, she works at a video store where her friend got her a job, and she's basically got kind of like an on the rocks relationship with her friend, because they're kind of like two really different people. And they really aren't seeing eye to eye on a lot of matters. And she also starts dating this white girl, and that gets into like, you know, some commentary, because they get into the whole like, it really seems like she's only dating you because like it seems like she's really into
like black. A notch on her belt. Yeah.
And
she's like, and the white woman even is like, you know, I've had 3 black boyfriends before. It's like,
yeah, and she's always like talking over them. Like, it's a scene where they like light up a hit, and she's like, oh yeah, give me that. Like,
yeah. But obviously, like, it was like, yeah, this is gonna go around, but she's like, oh, I need that. She's just like, oof, that's a dick move.
Yeah, and it's like she'll just like be like, she's like, I was born in Jamaica. I love telling people that. And it's like, yeah. It definitely seems like she's just trying to like hop on and get like credit for Cheryl's work at a certain point, because she basically like secures a contact with the director that Faye Richards had the relationship with, her sister, and they go and they like interview, but she's like, yeah, it's gonna be like our thing. But then of course the sister, being like a prude from like the 40s, absolutely denies it. She's like, no, it didn't happen. How dare you even think such a thing? And I've been denying this allegation for years about my sister. And it's just like, cool. Whatever. But yeah. But yeah, eventually she just kind of is like, all right, well, I wasn't able to find as much as I would have liked, but here's what I did find. And kind of
the
like,
credits start rolling and it tells her about.
Mm-hmm. And we find out that like, you know, that acting period where she was in Hollywood films was only like a short period of her life. And then she like moved back home and became like a singer where she was like super popular locally and everybody loved her. And then like apparently she stopped singing and she had a very special friend who took care of her, who Cheryl tries to meet at the very end, but she ends up like going to the hospital and leaving her behind like a big stack of like notes and a letter, or pictures or something. But yeah.
I actually really like this movie as well. I think there's a lot of interesting things talking about like the Black experience in like a city that has like a decent chunk of like people of color. Mm-hmm. I think there's interesting things to say about lesbianism and queerness in communities of POC, and how like in a lot of POC communities, queer people will date within like their race just because like as soon as they date a white person, that's exactly what happens, is they'll use them as like, it's like a tokenism thing where it's like, yeah, I'm dating a Black person. So I think there's a lot of stuff interesting about the Black queer experience here. And as a side note, this was the first feature-length movie made by like a Black lesbian. So, which is also like a big deal. Like both these movies are big deals, and
it also shines a light on just the obscureness of like women in Hollywood, period, but especially like gay women, and then like gay women of color, because like they basically like have to like fucking stretch themselves thin just to find information on the white director that Faye worked with, and then they can never find any information on Faye.
Except like in pictures. And even then when they find the pictures, it's like, yep, it's in this box at this random at the clit. There's like a laboratory, there's a technical laboratory with a bunch of like info on like gay people or women, lesbians in Hollywood. And it's because this is a comedy, it's called Clit.
Yes. And, they have no organization system. Like, the lady who introduces them is like, one day we'll have, like, a place that'll be organized, but we're just volunteers. So it's like, we don't have any of that.
She just dumps everything on the table, and she's like, whatever.
Yeah, and then she's really adamant about them not.
Do not film.
Yeah. They're like, whatever, dude, we're gonna film this.
Yeah, fuck that.
The truth needs to be revealed.
But, and I think there's something to be said about, like, Cheryl's transformation in this movie, and her, I think one of the big things that her and Tamara disagree with her friend from the video store is, I feel like Cheryl centers a lot of what she wants to have the movie be about is the queerness of these people. And Tamara is she's also a Black woman, and she's also a lesbian, but I think in her mind, she sees herself first as a black person. And it feels like Cheryl, maybe to Tamara, is like Cheryl is pushing aside that blackness to focus on the queerness of this person. And I think that's one of the things that Tamara is like pretty annoyed at. Because Tamara really doesn't like the white people in this movie. No. Like this, I think her name's like Annie.
Yeah, they have
this young coworker, white lesbian coworker.
Who seems nice.
Yeah, she's like fine. She's like one of the more helpful ones, and she's not as problematic as everyone else.
No. Literally the only talking point that Tamara has against her is the fact that she like wears like a dog collar.
Yeah. She's got colored hair.
Yeah. It's just like...
but... yeah, like I said, there's a lot of different, interesting aspects to like intersectional like lesbians in this movie. Yeah, I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I do think some of it is pretty funny.
Yeah, I would say like if I had to make a list of like top movies we've covered on this podcast, this would probably be on there. I really like this one.
Oh wow! Okay, cool. Yeah,
because. I think it's super accessible, first of all. Like, it's super easy to get into. And I really like... because I watch a lot of, like, fucking just, like, old Hollywood mystery stuff anyway. So this, like, was super appealing to me right off the bat. I was like, oh, okay. Cool. So, yeah. I just really like this one.
No, that's fair. I do think this is accessible, but I do think the filmmaking also takes interesting turns. I do like the... like jump between like first person shots where Cheryl's like filming or being filmed, and then just like regular, just like, it's a movie now.
Yeah.
And I do like how personal this movie feels, because Cheryl just plays mostly herself, like a more, because that's also the director is the main character. And she pretty much just plays like a dramatized version of herself as much as, well, from what I can gather. And like her mother in the movie is just played by her mother.
Really?
Yeah. So it feels very close to home, and I feel like it adds to the movie quite a bit. I'm interested to see what else she's made. I know she's made a couple other movies. I've heard a lot of them are kind of bad, but I'm interested to see, regardless. But
it's I think interesting giving her declaration at the end of the film, because she's basically like, this is my first film, and you know, it may not have been perfect, but I'm going to keep trying. And
you know, like,
yeah,
make a bad movie, so fucking what? Just do what you fucking like. If you like making movies, make some bad movies. Look at Uwe Boll.
Yeah.
Look at Michael Bay.
Yeah. No one stopped Charles Band yet.
So I'm trying. But no, I think both these movies were fucking bangers. Like, I really enjoyed both of these.
Yeah, no, so did I.
I think you would give this one an 8 as well? A 9. Wow.
Yeah.
El Topo status.
Current. This is what I know I gave Vagabond a 10 when we watched it, but I think I bumped it down to a 9. But I haven't rewatched it. So
like, what?
Leviathan, I think that was also a 9 from me. Maybe. I don't know what I rated.
What do you think I gave it? And then we'll talk a little more.
I think that you would have given this one an 8.
I did, yeah. So we just have switched. Yeah, no, both these movies. Yeah, I was like, man, these were good picks.
Yeah.
Good job, me. Yeah, so what are your favorite movies that we've covered on the podcast? I guess we've technically covered The Lighthouse on the podcast, but we didn't really watch it for the podcast.
Yeah, we talked about it like that. Let me just...
So let me try to think.
Let me pull up...
Vagabond, Leviathan, I guess this.
And of course, I'm thinking of this in context of films that we watched for the podcast, and not films that I really liked that I brought into the podcast. Because
Scenes from a Marriage?
Scenes from a Marriage. A lot of the Bergman movies that I hadn't seen. Let's see.
Maybe like
El Topo.
The Goddess, maybe?
The Goddess was good. Let's see. Going down.
Can't remember. Did you really like The Lost City of Z as well? I remember I fucking loved that movie.
Yeah. Lost City of Z was really good. Leviathan. Let's see. going through the Akira Kurosawa stuff, of course, phenomenal. The Agnes Varda movies, of course.
I love her.
I really liked Paris, Texas. I know you didn't like that one as much.
Yeah, but that's okay.
All of Lee Chang-dong's movies.
Holy shit! Yeah.
Fucking
Lee Chang-dong. When's he gonna come back? Make another movie.
Let's see. I like Steve McQueen's movies. I'd say that the best one was definitely the one that I had already seen before, though, which was 12 Years.
That movie's fucking brutal.
And
that movie's so fucking good.
There's some really good ones for what is it called?
Paul Thomas Anderson.
No, that series that Steve
Small Axe.
Small Axe, yes. Cure is a big one. Where
I want to rewatch Cure. That movie was...
Yeah.
I had heard good things, and I watched that movie. I'm like, holy fuck.
Yes. Honestly, that's like one of my fucking favorite horror movies, and Criterion needs to do a release of it, because there's no fucking release of it over here. The fuck?
Speaking of Criterion, I just lent my coworker the Before trilogy on Criterion. I'm like, please watch this.
Did they?
I gave it to them today.
Oh.
So...
Well, hopefully
yesterday. Yeah, hopefully.
Maniac Cop.
Maniac Cop 2, because it had the rap.
Oh, yes.
Maniac Cop 3.
Fucking... I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson's movies are good, but I had already... Except for The Master, I had already seen all those.
Uh-huh.
Let's see... Harakiri.
God, that movie's like... I think that's one of the best movies ever made. Just thinking about it, I'm like, that movie's fucking incredible.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much all the movies I'm saying are movies that I would probably, toss in, yeah, these are, in the best pile.
Yeah.
We've
watched so many... We were talking earlier, and we're like, we've watched almost 400 movies for the podcast, and so many of those movies I never would have seen. Without, actively searching them out. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm like, these movies are fucking, life-changing.
Yeah. No, fucking a lot of them were great.
Like Aragon.
Dracula 3000?
Pierre was very upset I did not give him this last pick again. Because last year, for the last month, the week of Black History Month, we let him do
Didn't you
Aragon.
Didn't you say, a couple weeks ago that you're going to give him this pick?
I said I might. Didn't want to. Instead of these two movies, we could have watched what? He said he was going to pick Reign of Fire.
Oh.
And I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie. I'm sure it probably would have been interesting.
It probably would not have been good,
No.
at least compared to these two.
Definitely not. Let's see. Small Axe. Fucking Dog Day Afternoon was one where...
Oh, are you looking at the Screen Weens list?
Yes.
Okay, so you've seen what we're watching next.
No, I haven't. I haven't made it to the bottom yet.
Because I'm like, wait a minute.
I mean... Alright, I'm inching closer.
Alright, let's talk about what we're watching next. We are doing an actress deep dive. This time on Isabelle Huppert.
Okay.
Or Huppert, I think. Yeah, he just told me how to pronounce her name. I think it's Huppert. I've seen two movies with her in it. I've seen The Piano Teacher and I've seen Elle. And I think both of them are fucking great. But we're going to be watching 5 movies. We're going to be watching The Piano Teacher. Have you seen that one? Yeah, that's what I thought. So we're going to be watching The Piano Teacher. We are going to be watching... I guess, actually, hold on. From earliest, it's Story of Women, La Cérémonie, which the other main character in that is Sandrine Bonnaire, who is the main character from Vagabond.
Oh, okay.
So,
cool.
We are going to be watching, Story of Women, La Cérémonie, The Piano Teacher, White Material, and Things to Come.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, she's great in those two that I've seen her in. She's fucking incredible. You've seen Greta. She's probably good in that.
I mean,
that movie's probably not very good, but
yeah,
she's apparently
awful,
decent.
Yeah, she gave decent performance.
She gave it her all.
I want to say I've seen something else she was into, but I don't know.
Ready Player One. She's not in that, but let's see.
Let me click on her letterbox.
She's been in a lot of movies, but a lot of them are like French movies. The French. Uh-oh. Man, she's almost 70. The fuck?
Is she really?
Yeah, she was born in 53. She'll be 70 next year.
Oh my god. She's hot for 70.
She is hot. She's just hot.
Yeah.
But she also kind of has looked like 50 for the last, 40 years.
Fair. Huh. Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah, so we'll be watching those. I'm excited. And then after that, I guess we'll just talk about it now. For pretty much all of March, we're going to be doing Lord of the Rings stuff after Isabelle Huppert. So we're going to be... Do you want to do the animated ones first?
Yeah, why not?
So we'll be doing the animated movies. So Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings, and then the Rankin and Bass Hobbit and Return of the King movies. Mm-hmm. And then we'll be doing Peter Jackson's Hobbit trilogy, and then Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings.
I think we should switch those.
Switch them? You want to do Lord of the Rings first?
Because, it makes...
But the Hobbit comes first.
Technically, no.
But the Hobbit, he's
the
young.
Framing device.
But he's young. The framing device, the book opens, and then it's like, let me read you the story of the Hobbit.
That, and I think just
Also, I don't want to watch. I know the animated movies are kind of bad. At least some of them.
I don't think... it's been forever since I've watched them.
Okay, I haven't watched them. So.
I don't think they're awful.
But they're probably not great.
I think that they're fine.
Okay. Did you just not want to go from fine to bad to really good? You want to do fine to extremely good to kind of just terrible?
No, I just want to talk about, A, kind of in the order of release, and B, because, you'll be following kind of at least in terms of the mainstream culture, what the perception of Lord of the Rings and the, Middle Earth was. But also...
Can't wait to read all the terrible interviews with Ian McKellen where he's like, yeah, I was just there crying at all the green screen during Hobbit.
Yeah,
what a fucking mess that production was.
Yeah, and there's a lot that there's going to be a lot that we can talk about for the production of both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but The Lord of the Rings is like, oh, look at this inspiring journey where they're all friends. They're like, ooh, look at this cool motion trick that we do. Yeah. If we put the camera this way, this person looks small. And then it's like, The Hobbit's like, everyone was on fire and we literally broke laws on labor.
So we could pay New Zealanders less for the same amount of work that the Americans
would this is fun.
But, it was basically they were forced into it because the tourist attraction of the Lord of the Rings, and, oh man, it was such a fucking mess. They should just let Guillermo del Toro do whatever the fuck he wanted to do with them.
Or just not made Peter Jackson made fucking 3 movies.
Well, that's because it had, fucking 20 producers. Not really, but it had a lot.
They should have just scrapped it, tried again in a couple years. Literally, just I don't care. Oh no, a couple $1 million. Fuck you.
Shit, at least have given Jackson some prep time because he had no prep time.
Yeah, he's like, come in. And he's like, I don't want to. He's like, come in or we'll kill you.
Come in or we're not going to shoot it in New Zealand. He's like, fuck. Which he shouldn't have done anyway, but we'll talk about that when we talk about the movies. And I imagine before I watch The Hobbit, I'll probably watch an edit of The Hobbit that'll be good, and then I'll be like, and then I'll watch the bad ones.
So like, oh no!
Yeah. But anyway, yes. So
yeah,
that's the future for the next month of screenings.
And then April, we'll probably be back to the usual.
Yeah,
I'll probably force us to do a bag pick because. We'll have had 8 weeks where we haven't even rolled.
Yeah, it'll be probably after my deep dive or something.
Yeah. And your deep dive will be the whole bag.
No, it won't.
All 12.
Oh yeah, because we let Pierre put something in, didn't
Oh
we?
no! He just put all of Family Guy.
All of David Lynch movies. That would be a bag pick for him, but that would be like a great thing for us. But we've already covered 90% of them on here.
Yeah.
I think the only one we haven't is The Straight Story. Of his, like, feature films, not including, like,
Yeah, I think it might just... Oh, Dune. We haven't covered his Dune movies.
Oh, yeah. We'll probably do a big... No, did we cover Dune in the Denis Villeneuve?
We did.
We'll probably do it. Probably when part 2 comes out, we'll probably do
We'll be like, we're watching Dune again!
We'll probably, like, do a big Dune episode where we cover, like...
The mini-series.
The David Lynch, and we'll probably, like, breeze through the first one and then talk about part 2 or something. But...
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to Screen Weens. We love you. We miss you. We cherish you. I think you're incredibly sexy. Thomas just gave you a little smooch, a little kiss. Tell your grandma, she makes me feel things in my loins. Goodbye, everyone.
I bet she hasn't heard that one in a while.